Have to go.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's just going to go down.
Did you go down to Colorado Springs a lot?
Not too often.
I'm
No.
glad that they're getting
Spend a lot of time
like airline job like that.
on the Front Range, but
Honestly, these ones I do
More like
are
Denver?
like a
Yeah.
short vacation type thing.
We are
'cause I don't
recording
go
in
all the
real
time.
time.
okay,
So it's pretty nice just to
very good.
This flag was the color.
take off my phone suffers the same fate as my computer.
You smashed that too?
Yeah, the city would be a little bit.
I thought that was the protector that was.
No, it's an actual phone. Hopefully I have insurance on it so I can get another one.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to go change. I'd have been in black today too.
Have a theme.
I'm sorry, work clothes.
Are we all in mourning up here or something?
I know. I think so. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Just a reminder to silence your cell phones. We'll start with roll call.
Mayor Sherman,
Here.
Councilor Basil,
Here.
Councilor Durrell,
Here.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Here.
Councilor Scalise,
Here.
Councilor Spradlin,
Here.
Councilor Tyree.
Here.
Good. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or revisions on the agenda tonight? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Move that we approve the agenda for the regular meeting of August 12th, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Spradlin,
Yes.
Councilor Durrell,
Yes.
Councilor Scalise,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Basil,
Yes.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Motion passes. Everybody's had a chance to read through the minutes from our last meeting. Does anybody have any corrections? If not, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes from the July 22nd City Council meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Lundstrom,
Yes.
Councilor Basil,
Yes.
Councilor Tyree,
Yes.
Councilor Scalise,
Yes.
Councilor Durrell,
Yes.
Councilor Spradlin, Mayor Sherman.
Yes. Motion passes. Visitors and delegations, we have Mikhail Mears here with us from the Executive Director from the Brush Area Chamber of Commerce to give us an update. Welcome, Mikhail.
Thank you for having me, Council. Try to make this a lot more informative for this meeting, I hope. Just a quick update from the Chamber, just to kind of catch everyone up on what we're doing. I know I'm sure all of you get a lot of questions about what we do. Additionally, with the MOU with the city through our Colorado Main Street program agreement, I just thought a good way to kind of give you updates. So with that, just some general updates. I'm going to have some handouts. Who would like? If you could, please. You'll see on this page here, just kind of all the events we host throughout the year. We do host a lot of events within the community. Of course, we help with the 4th of July Parade, with the Rodeo Association, and a lot of other events. Of course, Oktoberfest is coming up. In addition to that, we don't also just do events, we also do programs and projects. We're just on the flip side of the camera, so we're looking at. So we are quite a busy bunch between events as well. But just a quick brief summary of what each of those looks like. And of course, if there's any inquiries for more information, just reach out to our office. We're always happy to help with what those programs and projects look like specifically. I have But in addition to that, I just also thought I'd pass out some of our regular meeting dates. This oversees our board of director meeting dates, our executive board, which is also our foundation board meetings, and also TSC, which is our Transformational Strategies Committee. That meeting particularly, well, I would say, and if you're interested in coming, if you're available, or if you need community members are, those are kind of our event planning meetings where we take a lot of strategic ideas into play in terms of shaping our events and also programs as well. But that, as you see there, I believe TSC is on the first Tuesday of each month, unless we have a schedule. So for instance, July's meeting was pushed back a week before. Besides that, I do have one event that's coming up. Sorry. With our MOU agreement that we put into place a few meetings ago, we do have a luncheon event coming up. For those that aren't aware of what our MOU entails, particularly our speaker at this event for our next luncheon event, which is September 11th, on Wednesday, we'll be actually having the state representatives from Carver Main Street coming to present at that luncheon event. So if you're just interested in learning a little bit more about what our partnership with you and also the state is through the MOU, this would be a great opportunity if you're available, which that is again on September 11th, noon to 1 at the Brush Emporium, which will have networking update, a quick update from us from the chamber as well, and then also the presentation portion. Beyond that, I would like to highlight a few things that we've gotten through this great partnership with you and the state, of course. Just a brief overview through the state program, we get a lot of technical assistance, and as part of that, we get a lot of consultations at no cost to us and no cost to the city as part of the program. From that, we've actually adopted a new, sorry.
That sounds good.
We've adopted a new strategic plan. This shows you our new vision, mission statement, in addition to our work plan. This just gives you an overview of what we're looking at doing in the next few years, what we're striving for, which I would point to the work plan in particular, as the city would be highly involved with a lot of the projects we work on, particularly with our Carver Main Street Association. I'm giving our grant through that organization in addition to just the project's nature in general. But I'm hoping that you'll probably see a lot more of me, hopefully in a good way, in the near future when we make progress on those. But beyond that, I also do have one last report. This is much of a bigger packet, so I'm going to print 3. But through this kind of our partnership with the state as well, they were working on a study, particularly with addressing vacant and dilapidated buildings downtown in different communities. We were selected as one of, I believe, 4 communities to be basically, we got interviewed. I met with the person that was putting this report together from, I believe, it's CSU. Her name's Stephanie Owens, but she put together a fabulous report on this, which I'll pass out the few copies I have to you. One more glance. But this kind of reviews, just the issues that communities have, particularly with vacant buildings, kind of strategies that those communities have taken on to address those, some of the difficulties in addressing those, and just kind of, it gives you a pull-down report of some of the other Main Street communities within the state as well, and what they've done, which we were highlighted particularly for our Brush Cares program with the incentives program that we have. But some key pages to look at if you're looking at what we have for brush information particularly. Page 23, 26, and 27 has some information for brush, just to break down some of our statistics. I believe they have a breakdown of statistics I gave, which is our Main Street district, for how many buildings we have in that, which I believe we hold 96 building assets, which as of now we only have about 9 vacant, but which is a very good number compared to some other communities proportionally. In addition to that, we also have some population stats as well. Beyond that, page 32 kind of goes over some incentive programs that we and some other communities have. In addition to page 43 has some resources that include Main Street and some other resources that other communities have highlighted. But beyond that, that's about the summary of my update. Is there any questions I can answer while in front of council tonight?
I appreciate the handouts. They're very colorful and informative. It's going to be nice to read through those and get the information. So thank you for that.
Of course. And I can also send over the vacancy packet digitally to Loranda, and then we'll look at making it publicly available on our website as well.
That would be great.
For my review. But beyond that,
So Mikhail, after we log through all this information,
Yes.
have questions, just contact you at the chamber?
yes, certainly. And also, I would say some of the things in the packet as well, we have actually been trying to implement in our own kind of work that we do here in the city. Particularly, there talks a little bit about building inventories and like how to address that, which me and I don't want to add too much for him, but Tyler Purvis has been at least trying to highlight that and how we can address that. moving forward in terms of what we have available, what we don't, and et cetera, and what tools can be used to address those things. So, I mean, some of it we have been kind of looking at addressing in the near future or further future, but I mean, it is on top of our minds and how we can basically address our downtown area.
So you've been working with Tyler on this?
Yes, and if you
Yeah.
actually look at the work plan, I believe it kind of shows you our community partners and also the sort of staff, board. I believe Tyler, just because he works so closely, he's part of our board at the chamber, and he works really closely on a number of projects and key initiatives. So we do work very closely with the city in that regard, yes.
Very good. Yeah, because it seems pretty valuable. To work together and use the information. Do they offer any grants or anything? Or is it just an informational?
So permanently informational, it does talk about, I believe, historic preservation boards, also known as CLG, which we do have one within the city, which I believe a few members are actually presented on the council tonight, I believe Dan, and myself, and also Tyler, and a few other community members. But particularly targeting historical buildings, but there are, I have not read through it entirely, but there are a number of resources that I'm looking at, really diving into what other communities have been able to highlight and what has worked for them.
Very good.
How did the community barbecue go?
But yes, very well. I'd say pretty well for what else was going on that evening. We had of course, the Moore County Fair going on as well. We ended with about 510 in attendance total,
Nice.
which we get that number primarily from Media Logic brings plates as their donation for the sponsorship for that event, and we just count how many plates we give out. And so we ended, I believe, around 510 was the number we ended on. But I mean, we were a little worried about the weather that day just because it was hot that week. But, I mean, in the evening it started to cool down, plus the library has that beautiful shade. And it was really, at least in terms of that, pretty good setup. Thank you to the city, Lance, and everyone else that participated in getting the tent set up. Getting the chairs and tables from the fire department. We really do appreciate your guys' partnership in that.
What are your next or current events?
Current events right now, we have People's Market every Wednesday, 4 to 7, for the next 6 weeks at the library district. And we just set up on their sidewalk there in their park, I believe on the southeast end of their block. So that is 4 to 7, so if you're getting off of work, it's a perfect time to calm down, just to enjoy some of our local wares and vendors. There are a few vendors with fresh produce, so that's always a plus seeing that there. Additionally, of course, we have the luncheon coming up next month, and then, of course, Oktoberfest, which we're already gearing up for, which that's looking excitingly already. We already have 45 plus vendors, which this time last year I think we were saying about 20, so it's looking like it's going to be a big one, which we'll be seeing the car show return, of course, and then all the downtown activities as well.
Do you know off the top of your head how many vendors you have at the People's Market?
People's Market, I believe we said about 8 to 10 week to week. Depends, each week we have a few that sign up one week, some that don't sign up the following week, but about 8 to 10 before we're sitting roughly from week to week. And there's entertainment at each People's Market event as well.
Are you closing the highway again this year?
That is the plan, yes. We've gotten approval from CDOT, we're just following up with State Patrol. But we've done the last 2 years, so I'm quite confident, knock on wood, of course. We'll get that taken care of, but it should be. I'm working with Dale and, of course, Flex Diner as well, just to make sure that all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and make sure that we don't miss anything, address everything and all concerns that everyone has.
Well, I know that you had really big shoes to fill with Matt leaving, but I think you've done an excellent job. So thank you for all your hard work.
Good. Thanks for all the information, Mikhail.
Thank you, Councilman.
Appreciate it. All right. Citizen comments. Doesn't look like we have any citizens here for citizen comments, so we'll move on to management. We have Chief Flecksteiner with a resolution number 2024-7.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I received an email from Colorado Bureau of Investigation identifying the company that they use for fingerprinting background is going to be increasing fees.
So in light of that, they're also increasing fees. So we currently charge $15 for the fingerprinting background through the automated system we have. They're looking at increasing it from $15 to $16.50 as of July 1, 2024, and then also looking at increasing it another $1.50 next year on July 1st of 2025. So with the increase from them, we too are also looking at increasing it in the same rate.
Yeah, we should at least cover what it's gonna cost us to do it.
Correct.
Because you're just charging what they charge. We're not
Correct.
making any money on it. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions? I would look for a motion on this one.
I'd move that we increase our fee by $1.50 this year and $1.50 next year.
Second.
Any discussion? Do we need to phrase that? We need to approve resolution number 2024-7?
Yeah, just because it is amending the fee
Okay.
schedule.
Yeah, we need to read the whole thing.
Usually we do that or just
Yeah.
add it in.
Yeah.
Let's see. I got too far ahead of myself. Resolution 2024-7 to amend the city fee schedule regarding fingerprinting from the current fee by $1.50 this year and next year $1.50 increase.
Perfect. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Gorell? Yes. Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Basil?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Scalise?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. That motion passes. Very good. Thank you. Next, we have resolution 2024-8 and Monty Torres speaking on this one.
Okay, this is the resolution in regards to prohibiting carrying firearms in sensitive spaces. We've had discussions on this in the past, work session and in open meetings, talking about this, and the council gave us direction to have our city attorney put together a resolution opting out of the provisions of Senate Bill 24-131. And so that is before you tonight to vote on.
Very good. Anybody have any questions? I will look for a motion on this one.
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-8, regulating the city council of the city of Brush and opting out of the provisions of SB 24-131, prohibiting carrying firearms in sensitive spaces.
Second.
Any discussion? Group effort. Roll call vote.
Counselor Scalise?
No.
Counselor Basil?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Gorell? Yes. Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom?
Yes.
Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, that motion passes. Finance.
I move we approve disbursements and payroll for July 23rd, 2024 through August 12th, 2024, totaling $1,066,193.38. Zero threw me off there.
It does.
Second.
Does any discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Basil?
Yes.
Counselor Scalise?
Yes.
Counselor Spradlin?
Yes.
Counselor Tyree?
Yes.
Counselor Lindstrom?
Yes.
Counselor Gorell? Yes. Mayor Sherman?
Yes. All right, go on to staff reports. Looks like Chief Flecksteiner is up first.
So I'll start off with staffing. We regrettably lost one of our CSO positions, so we're down to one CSO again. So one person's going to be doing the work. We went from a full week of coverage to doing 5/8 again, so we're short another CSO on the weekends. But she's doing everything she can to kind of keep up with everything. But if everybody can be patient with her while she tries to catch up on some of the areas that look like they weren't being as taken care of as much as we wanted to in the past. So the other side of it, we're still with one in the academy, one in FTO, and one potentially on the way. I got a conditional offer up to an officer, just waiting for a response from that. On the other side of things, we just took part in Barbecue with the Blue up in Fort Morgan last week. I had a great showing. I mean, anytime we take the MRAP out, it draws a huge amount of attention, answer a lot of questions all the times, but I thought it was a great turnout. There's a lot of people. I think I saw a few of you there. But it was a great opportunity to be out in the community, and I think the few members of my department that went really enjoyed it, and it was a really good time, so.
Very good.
Cool. If anybody has some questions, concerns, complaints of any sort?
I guess just with school starting back, are you guys feeling like you've got good grounds and you've got good coverage and everything with all the traffic?
Correct. Actually, just this morning, actually had an officer reissue a couple tickets because we had a couple of poor drivers, ran some stop signs pretty blatantly. So we're going to start pushing out, hey, kids are going to be out and about again, that people need to start kind of realizing that summertime driving is over and need to be a little more careful about it. So
I think with the school year starting earlier, people just aren't as aware.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it still feels like summertime.
It does still feel like summertime. It's weird.
Especially with the weather being the way it is. It's not fall-ish feeling yet, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, Dale Colwick, Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Not a whole lot to report on, just the Cambridge Street project's moving along. We're currently now installing stormwater sewer pipe. We are across Mill Street and starting down Cambridge Street at this point. However, some of the bad news behind this is that this is the worst type of Class C soil to be digging in, and we're experiencing a lot of trench collapse. And so it's going to go probably a little slower than we expected. I'll reach out to the contractor tomorrow to find out how far we're going to be and get back out there and notify to the residents. I've been pretty active about getting out there, knocking on doors, visiting, letting people know what to expect, what's happening, and how we can mitigate the inconvenience as much as possible. But with this, the soil types being what they are, it's, like I said, it's going a little bit slower, and you gotta be careful. I mean, it's the law. OSHA regulation says you gotta have that trench box in there. And so it is creating a little bit of issues, so.
And Dale, when the collapsing occurred, just for awareness, a few sidewalks are looking like they're going to have to be removed.
Correct.
So the city's going to be replacing those sidewalks. And
Yes.
So you might get a call or something like that
Yeah.
from someone, but we'll get out and make sure everyone's really aware of that.
Reason being is that we take those sidewalks out, that gives another 5 feet to do what we call benching. And that allows us to take some of that weight off of the soils in the lower part of the trench. And so hopefully that'll help mitigate some of that trench collapse that we're experiencing at this point. So.
Where are the sidewalks that collapsed at? Is that on Mill or is it on Cambridge?
Cambridge.
It's on Cambridge.
Right. Yeah, it's on Cambridge on the west side, north and west side. So again, we'll just have to get back in there and put it back in, but in order to keep the project moving, we've got to do something because this is just absolutely frustrating to have to try to install that pipe in this kind of soil. I mean, it's very dangerous. It's the worst you can get. So there's that, and then.
Sorry, before you move on.
Sure.
With you getting to that point of crossing Mill, how are we looking for vegetation or reclamation with all the dirt at the golf course?
Sure. At this point, I don't have a schedule or a target date of getting that done, but I do know that he has to fill back in that trench that he had, because again, he had to bench that in order to install that pipe through there. And so I'll find out from the contractor what we're looking at in terms of dates and such.
Okay.
And probably, I'd like to see it done sooner, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't September before it's done, simply because then you're not competing with weeds when you're growing the grasses, because it's going back into native grasses. And if you try to get it in too soon, you'll get the competition from the weeds, and then we've got a bigger problem.
So if the weeds are growing, it's probably helping to keep the dirt down anyway.
Well, yeah, so far, yeah. So, any other questions on Cambridge Street?
Good job getting it done before school started.
Yes, it was, we really poured the steam to it to get it done, so.
Do you have concern, or when do you plan to restore the road over Mill? Because I would be concerned about the heavier traffic going over that unfinished section.
Right, we put down some asphalt millings, and that helps kind of bind that, but I'm not sure, you know, typically when we're looking at asphalting, we're wanting to do it all at once, but if it doesn't look like it's holding, maybe we can look at doing something to pave over that, just that one section if
Especially
necessary.
with the buses, with that weight, I would
Mhm.
imagine that's not gonna be.
And the amount of traffic, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's significant traffic between Beaver Valley and the secondary campus.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Dale.
You bet.
Thanks for knocking on doors too. That's probably helping out a lot. I mean, keeping them in the loop. I mean, I'm sure that's going to cause you less headaches down the road. So.
I tell you what, I've enjoyed it immensely visiting with everybody, and it almost feels like, I feel a little guilty because, as a military term we call it, I feel like I'm skating, you know?
Also, I don't what do you mean? Skating. What do you mean?
Meaning that I'm not doing, you know, I should be working, and I feel like I'm not working, I'm just goofing off.
Slacking. We call slacking.
Yeah, so I'm skating, you know?
It's an important skate that you're on.
Yes, so.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it's helping. So
Sure.
that's awesome.
It is, and people are really happy, and they're great to talk to.
Sure.
They're fantastic to
Well,
talk
they
to.
know what's going on. They feel better. I'm sure.
Oh, yes,
So,
you bet. The second thing I have tonight is that our street preservation projects, the slurry sealing is going to kick off on the 19th, next Monday for 4 days. We're going to start, we have all these different various areas of town. As a good example, right over here in the middle part of town.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. However, it's not going to be this area closure all at once. What we're looking at doing is staging the closures of streets in a manner that we're going to try to minimize the inconvenience to the public. A good example would be like Brush Village. It's got one way in and a loop. And so to take and do that, we're going to do that in 2 days. We'll do the entrance plus back around one, and then the next day we'll come in and we'll finish the rest of it. So people will have opportunities to park on either side of that area. So that's kind of the things we're looking at. These guys really have a good plan in mind. Again, it's going to be short-term inconvenience because depending on the weather, the heat and the humidity, this slurry can cure in as little as 2 hours if it's very hot and not a lot of humidity. But if it's cool but a lot of humidity, it can take up to 4 hours. So we'll try to keep the inconvenience down as much as possible, but I think these guys have got a good plan. I know that our street crew's going to go out and they're going to start probably knocking on some doors, talking with some people, letting them know. But this company also does that as well. They have their own door knockers. They go out and they visit with the citizens. And so we got that going. I will, you know, like I say, it's the street crew has really poured it on this year. I mean, they've done a great job of getting these streets prepped. I put them on critical path to get these streets ready for this slurry because this is a heavy year for maintenance. And so because of that, you know, some of our other tasks that we do, like tree trimming and weeds, have kind of been back burner just to make sure that we had our streets ready and to go for this preservation project. And contrary to some of the scuttlebutt out there on social media, yes, the city has been warned by code enforcement, and I've had to break off and/or contract out to have some of these weeds taken care of as well. So yes, for those people out there who seems to think that the city isn't catching heat for their weeds, we have been. So I just want to put that out there. So, any questions on the street preservation? One other thing I would like to point out is that because we were able to purchase a hot box and an infrared heater, whenever we've been doing some of these projects, we've been ordering a little long on the asphalt. So the intent is now that once we get this preservation done and over with, we get caught up on some of our other duties like tree trimming and weeds and such, then what we also want to do at that point is starting in the late fall and throughout the winter, start preparing those streets that we're going to be doing next year. So when spring comes around and the weeds are coming up and the trees need to be trimmed, all our streets will be done at that point in time. So we're trying to kind of accelerate up, try to get ahead of this. So we are planning for changes on how we're doing it. So, any questions? Comments?
There in William Street, Dale, there's still a bunch of holes from the guys laying the fiber down.
Sure.
So on the Williams, the big loop.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Right, and Patrick's been taking the lead on that one there, and he's been cracking the whip with the fiber companies to make sure that they get those cores reinstated. And it's especially important now on those streets that we're going to be doing the preservation on. So, but the good news is that they're mostly out of here. I can't see them being here much longer. So, but in the meantime, we'll still keep on the companies to make sure that they do proper restoration.
Dale, I was gonna hold us to my report, but since you're talking about it, or someone brought it up already. So I did a walk in Allison's neighborhood, and I just kind of looked around at where some of these holes were at. And after the last couple of rains, what I noticed is, well, first I noticed there's a lot of them that haven't been filled, but then some that were filled with whatever material, but with the rains, it's kind of washed out and made little craters.
Mm-hmm.
And some are pretty good size, and some like are in series, so there might be 3 holes where they did borings, like in someone's yard. And then now one's collapsed, the second one's, and they're all connected. So I don't know if they're planning on coming back another round.
Are you talking about the handholds? The
They
handholds?
look like hand holes and in the gravel. And then some of the boxes that they've
Sure.
placed down,
Yes,
those are eroding away now.
yes.
So I just, before these companies leave, we can make sure we do a really good sweep of the
We
entire
have,
community.
Patrick's been on them, and he's got a checklist of where these areas are at, and he's been cracking the whip with these companies to get it back out there and getting them done. They take a little umbrage to being told that they didn't properly compact, but they didn't, otherwise that hole wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of, you can't tell me you properly compacted in and around these handholds when they're sinking in like this.
Can I
So-
tell you of another one?
Sure.
The southeast corner of the library lot, we were standing there in line waiting for the community barbecue,
Mhm.
and there was an open borehole, so my husband grabbed a road cone that was nearby and put it over it so no one
Sure.
stepped in it.
And just for the record, anytime that these guys core through a sidewalk, they have to do a complete panel replacement. We don't allow just reinstatement of that core.
That's good
back
to know,
into that
because that's all
sidewalk.
they're doing, is just going back and putting the cores back.
Well, but here again, we still hold the cards.
Yeah.
And so they do, in fact, they were kind of complaining about that, and they were saying, well, we thought that, first the comment was, well, I thought that if we only did one core, then we wouldn't have to replace the panel. I says, no, from the very beginning, I told you. You core one time through a sidewalk, you're going to replace it because you've ruined its integrity.
Yeah.
And so there was some complaining then. It was like, well, we left them that way in order for the other fiber company, when they come through, they can use that to determine where the utilities are. And it's like, no, that's,
Sounds like it's been a very frustrating experience, but I appreciate you staying on top of them.
it's not been frustrating for me or for Patrick. It's very frustrating to those fiber companies, put it that way. So we are working on that, and we do have a list of where these handholds have collapsed, and Patrick was out there with one of the companies this morning, and he'll be out visiting with the other company tomorrow about the proper compaction and making sure these things get restored properly. Again, we still hold all the cards.
Nice.
Thank you for keeping on top of them.
You bet. Trying. It's like herding cats sometimes, but we can get it done.
Dale, I got a question for you, or more of a comment. So Ward 3, part of Ward 2, I think we really, really need to start looking at the city trees.
Mhm.
I missed both meetings in July, or I would have shared this with you before, but I have a pretty scary Ring doorbell incident from my neighbor's tree.
Okay.
My wife walked out the front door, and literally half the tree fell over. And if she'd have taken off 5 seconds earlier, it would have hit her. And that was a tree that got hit by lightning before the parade. I think the city was notified about it. Nothing happened. There was all kinds of people sitting under that tree during the parade. So, and then just to kind of bring this home for me, I've lived there 15 years, and in the 15 years, I've had to have one tree taken down that fell down. I've had 2 vehicles crushed by trees. I've had 1 fence crushed by a tree. I've had the power almost yanked out of my house by a big part of the tree. So I don't know if it's a trimming issue where they just haven't been trimmed properly, and now we've got these big gangly branches that just hang everywhere, or if there's some kind of, I know I've heard of boring beetles in some of those ash trees.
That's a lot of the problem right there. We get these, the emerald ash borer.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's what happened to that tree over there in Colorado here just, about a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, once we got there and we started looking at it, it was completely hollowed out. I mean, and it was literally eaten from the inside out.
So I don't know if there's something we can do, like somebody we can bring in to check some of these trees out, or what the deal is, because they've cost me a tremendous amount of money
Well,
since I've been here in '05. And
Tyler did bring in somebody to look and assess some of these trees. And so some of that's already been done at this point. However, we'll look into it even further.
okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Keeping in mind, I know that we get these work orders, hey, come trim this tree, hey, come trim this tree.
Yeah.
Sometimes if we can't get to it, then we have to schedule it with one of the local tree companies.
Yeah,
Have them come and do it.
They're busy too, so I get it, but
What we call IDLH, immediately dangerous to life or health.
Yeah.
We try to get to it right away. However, a lot of some of these other trees that we have, these work orders for trees that we have, we tend to we'll collect a stack of work orders before we go out and do it, because if they're able, to mobilize, get out there and do all that work just for one tree every time a work order comes in, it's very resource intensive.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering.
So, what we do is once we get a stack of these work orders, then we'll go out, we can mobilize, then we can hit all these places up.
It might just be worth something to maybe start looking in the future to kind of put a budget item in and having a contractor come in and just hammer all of those trees that are over there, because those are all old trees. Ward 3 trees are all, they're all full-grown ash trees.
Mhm.
Most of them are ash trees. So it might just be worth something to look into, maybe for the life of the tree, because there's 2 trees that have been gone just since I've been there, one on my yard and one on my neighbor's yard. Now 2 on her yard, actually. She's lost 2 trees in her yard. Both, all boulevard easement trees.
Mm-hmm.
So, but maybe it's just something that we need to start looking at on that side of town, with those trees starting to age. I know they've had their cars hit twice with trees now, so it starts to
Sure.
add up.
And this would be something that we bring before the tree board as well.
Sure.
And just since I'm on the tree board, we did discuss that not long ago, and that's something we're going to move forward with, is try to get somebody in to determine which trees are good, which trees are bad, and get a list going so that we can then pass it on.
Sure.
Sure.
It can't be easy, because even the ones that we've had problems with, to look at them, they look fine. So I don't know how you'd almost have to be somebody that crawled up there and just really assessed the trees.
Yeah. And I'm not sure. I'll have to visit with Tyler on this one.
Okay.
Because he heads up the tree program. And so we typically are just the boots on the ground when it comes to doing that. And so, but as far as assessments and stuff like that, and looking at that, I think that's pretty much done through the tree board.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Any other
I have a
comments?
question in regards to the north side of Mill Street.
Mm-hmm.
All the poles that are, is that, who's doing that and when are they doing that?
Hooper is the contractor for Excel that is supposed to be replacing those poles, those existing poles. But I think they got the wrong size poles, and that's why they probably haven't been installed. Because if you look at those poles that are there, they're tall, they're really tall. And the ones that are laying on the ground, they're short, very, very short. And so I think that's probably the issue. I can reach out to my contacts, either Adrian Cardenas or Kalen Falbo, and find out what the status of that is.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, they're kind of a pain to mow around,
Yeah.
so. And I don't see them out there with their weed whips. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
All right, Chris Bostron, Finance Director.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Chris? All right, Loranda Packard, City Clerk.
In the packet for tonight, at the end, is just a thank you from the Rodeo Association. And then we're trying to put together a special meeting for next week, hopefully August 19th. I've heard back that 4 of our counselors can attend. I just don't know about the other 3. So we'll need to maybe hash that out tonight while everybody's here before you leave. And that's all I have.
Good. Dan Krob, City Attorney.
Just so you guys know what's coming down your way, looking at an Excel franchise agreement that I need to get with Tyler about, and then a school IGA for video broadcasting here. Nothing ready yet, but they'll be coming your way.
Very good. Thank you. Monty Torres.
Okay, a few items. I'll also mention on the Excel Energies franchise agreement.
Oh, you're not on the list, but I see you there. I'm like, what?
Yeah, let's
Sorry,
get
I'm
Lance.
sorry.
Let's get Lance.
I'm so sorry, Lance. I even was like, yeah, Lance is here.
Passing out all the.
That's what you were here for.
Just a little bit of an update, kind of winding down with our summer programs. We will be keeping the swimming pool open on Fridays and Sundays to Labor Day, with school being out on Fridays and stuff, just to give another activity on those days for the kids to do. We are starting soccer games this coming Saturday, so that's going. We ended up with about 180 kids out for soccer, which was pretty good this year. And so we'll be playing those over at Beaver Valley, and we're getting all the fields ready to go and go from there. And this past weekend, since the fire department is not here, we hosted at the golf course the fire department kind of fundraising golf tournament. They had a full set of teams in the morning and a full set in the evening, and I guess the tournament itself went really well, and the fire department I think did pretty good with their fundraiser and everything like that. A lot of people from the community jumped into that and participated, so that was good. The other thing is Prairie Trails Park, the ball fields. That's not going as fast as I would like, but I think part of that is, the same contractor's also doing Cambridge Street, so we were wanting to make sure part of that was done and everything like that. But we do have, all of the grading is done, and we did put the topsoil in, so that part is done. I'm meeting with Excel Energy on Thursday, and they are about 2 weeks out of installing the transformer. And then after that happens, then we will put in the irrigation system, and still up in the air whether we're going to sod or seed. Since we're not going to be using it this fall, I'm kind of leaning towards seeding because it would save us some money. However, that's still going back and forth, just depending on where we are budget-wise. But everything else is kind of on track. We have a couple questions on some drainage that I'm getting with Chad Cox and also Gary, but outside of that, that's kind of where we're at with the Prairie Trails Park, and when it's all said and done, we're going to be irrigating those ball fields with Doty Pond, but we're still draining Doty Pond because it's got to go through our sewer system, and it can only take so much at a time. So it's been pretty much just trickling in there all summer long, and we were almost at the bottom, almost at the bottom. And the Division of Wildlife really wanted us to clear that out. One, the water was very toxic at that point. Dale has the readings on that. And the other, someone had put a bunch of carp in there, and the carp had eaten all the other fish. So the Division of Wildlife, once we do get it down, they want to be able to pull all that out, and then they're going to start restocking it again once we make sure that everything is out of there. So that's where we're at right now. Is there any questions I can answer?
There's no way to stop that, though, is there?
What's that? People throw
putting
carp?
different fish in there, yeah.
No. What
fills that up?
We have a well on site.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we fill it up with that. And so that's what's going to irrigate the fields too and everything. But
But by irrigating the fields, it'll at least be putting fresh water in there all the time, so
Sure.
it should work out good.
I've heard Graff's turf is sold.
Graff's is sold, but Marty Teal, one of the owners, is still gonna have a small sod farm.
Gotcha.
And he is still, kind of gonna be in the business of landscaping and all that, so.
I heard the sod was going like for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, so
Is that,
that's.
is that something
we're I'm in contact with Marty, because Marty's the one who's kind of been advising me on seeding or sodding.
Mhm.
And, but if we do want to go with the sod, I mean, like you said, it is cheap, and then it's a ready-made field, it's ready to go. So, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. All right, Monty.
Okay, back to Xcel Energy and the franchise agreement. I just wanted to mention a couple other things in regards to that. Is Tyler's done his scrub of the franchise agreement that was presented to us, and then I took his notes and I scrubbed it again, and we doing a little bit of history on it, trying to find out more information on a few things in it, and then also we're requesting of Xcel Energy to do an audit. Part of the past agreement was that if we request an audit, that they would do it free of charge. And that's just really looking at what revenues they had brought in, if we were getting the correct percentage of that through the franchise agreement that people pay on their bills. We just wanted,
Sorry.
is that rain?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just rain.
Okay.
I've been watching it.
Okay, so we've done our scrubs, and we got one more discussion. Also, I believe it's been sent off to you, Tyler sent it to you, Dan. And so I would guess probably in the next meeting or two, we'll bring that to the council. And there's about 3 different questions that we've come up with for council in regards to that franchise agreement. We don't see anything really holding up the agreement, but we just want to double check it, because these are typically 10 years. Every 10 years you review these. So once you review them, you're kind of stuck with them. Other things to mention is some great discussions with the new superintendent of schools, Marcia Cody. Her and I have had 2 meetings so far, and great ideas that she has, and we're working on a list of different projects to work on together. And then I was going to invite her into the next meeting so everyone can meet the new superintendent. And just looking forward to some really good things with the school district in the future. Another thing that was brought to my attention was the Brush Rule Fire Department district. They are planning on a ballot question coming up here soon in regards to increasing their property taxes. I don't have all the details on that, but I was going to also invite them in to meet with the city council, because city council in the past has asked if once a year we could have a meeting with the board, talk about what their plans are, what purchases are coming up. And this is kind of bigger news because it's been something that's been discussed about being needed for many years. So we'll invite them in to update us on those things. The other thing I was going to mention is Tyler and I are working on a meeting with the Just Transition Committee. Just Transition is a government-appointed committee to help with communities that have seen some impacts from coal-fired power plants transitioning to natural gas, or that are being closed down. So they're offering different type of grants that might be available to communities, and we are in one of their tier 1 communities, and so they want to hear about projects that we have. So at the staff level, we're discussing what projects might be qualified for this, and we'll be working on that here over the next couple weeks. Other thing to mention is we did sign an agreement, and it was sent off by Chris to Graff's, and that's for the artificial turf for the fire department, the building around the north side and then around the west side. And what was explained to me is that the rural board, they're going to be meeting here in the near future to talk about their contributions to it. And then the volunteers, the fire chief said that they wanted to pitch in some of the funds that they have available. So a lot of things going on in Brush, and the rest of my items are in work session.
Very good. Thank you, Molly. Mayor and council reports. Does anybody have anything they want to report on?
With the absence of the fire chief here, I would just like to share that we did have five firefighters initially deployed to the Alexander Mountain Fire, which included actually a firefighter from Hill Rose. They were there for about 24 hours. They were home all of an hour, and another crew of 4 to 5 redeployed for 72 hours. And then they were asked to stay for an additional 72, so we had an additional 3 that stayed for 72 hours. They were there, basically there was 3 of them that were there for the entire week, which included, I believe, a city staff member. So I just want to say thank you personally for the community's support. It's a rough week. I apologize. Obviously, my husband was one of them that was gone for a week. They were definitely not dealing with some of the scary stuff, but I just appreciate the community's support and the employers for letting those guys go and do that and help with that. Additionally, our captain is a part of a deployable team, and he was also deployed to the Alexander Mountain Fire. So our volunteers out there doing what they do.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else?
I don't know if anybody else saw it, but in or on Facebook, Mallory from Double R Embroidery posted about the difficulties with homeless in and around her building in the park in Fort Morgan. Just some kind of terrible issues with homeless people going up to patrons and vandalism and this and that. Do we have a plan? And what I got from the gist from the article was that when she went to the police, the Fort Morgan police, they kind of threw their hands up in the air. It's like, what, there's nothing we can really do. Fort Morgan is west of us. I can see that coming this way. Do we have a plan? Have we started thinking about things and what we would do if we have encampments on, say, the public library grounds there? And what as a city council, chief of police, what can we do to, I don't know if we can prohibit that or if we can do something about it, but I just figured it'd be better to be proactive than reactive. And like to hear if we have thoughts or a plan in action, or plan of action, if that does come to fruition.
First of all, knock on wood, I would say we've been luckily enough to not have the same issues at Fort Morgan. Even being 10 miles away, we haven't had that issue. I'm aware of us having a few on occasion. I'd say the majority of them are local people that have, I'd say, burned bridges with family, and family doesn't want them around. So again, hopefully we don't have the related issue. Discussions have already been started to have. I've already talked to the chief from Fort Morgan, as well as the sheriff, because now to our perspective, if we start doing something about it, is it enforceable action? It can be. I mean, you get to the point where you get trespassing is potentially an issue and a crime. The caveat and the question we had to is once we start enforcing that, we're relying on the courts to follow through and pass down something along to make it I hate to say it, have some bite to it. We can invariably charge anybody with trespassing and potentially give them a ticket or take them to jail. It's just whether or not the courts are willing to follow along with those orders to do something. But you've seen nationwide. I think I've seen in California they've started to push direction of making encampments and stuff like that an enforceable thing and something to break down. So my plan of action would be is if we do get to that point, one, not letting it grow to a point. If we're getting to an area like the library and we start having encampments, of shutting it down relatively quickly and making it a point of the library, I would gather would more than likely want to pursue some kind of a trespassing fashion of doing it that direction. Would be my course of action if we get to that point. And I can't foresee us getting to the point where we're getting that large of a thing, but coming down on each individual person. And if it comes to being, I understand they're experiencing homelessness. They don't have places. I know we specifically, Brush, don't have a lot of resources for them, but if it rises to the level where it is becoming a criminal act and they're not moving along, I think that would be my direction, to be going that direction.
Okay.
Very good.
Sounds good.
I was going to add just real quickly. I know in the past the little spot issues that we've had over time, but I've seen a lot more around the community. Had a call about someone living in a car, and I asked you the questions about those. Buer Hosier,
Mhm.
can't remember anymore. But it seems like, Brandon, we had these discussions probably 10, 12 years ago, maybe even more recent than that. But there are laws that were preventing us from doing certain things.
Right.
Do you remember some of those discussions? And maybe, Dan, you can enlighten us a little bit, but I remember our hands were slightly tied at that time.
So most recently, the ACLU pushed to basically say you're targeting a specific group of people who are experiencing homelessness and criminalizing their behavior because they have to sleep somewhere. So throughout the state, they've tried different things. I just actually pulled it up. Douglas County they passed an ordinance that says you can't cite them for trespassing if you call a shelter and there's a bed available to them and they still refuse to leave. And that's kind of the compromise. It's a pretty nuanced issue, and there's a lot of landmines in there. So maybe, I think it's a great question. I think it's great to be proactive, but maybe it's something that we discuss at the staff level
Yeah.
and to bring you guys something.
I get homelessness, but what I don't get is a homeless person committing criminal acts or harassment or loitering or, defacing that business or just, detracting from that business by just standing outside and so I get that people are on hard times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the negative actions they take, for whatever reason.
Mhm.
Yeah, so.
It's been my understanding and kind of opinion is, I think you have that separate delineation between somebody that just doesn't have a place to live, and they're just trying to find something, Wi-Fi, what have you, and then someone that's maybe using that as an opportunity to lash out and damage property, burden other people with what's going on with them. I think that's where you have that separation between criminalizing somebody for just being, experiencing homelessness and, criminalizing somebody that, yes, they're experiencing homelessness, but they're also taking part in other actions, not just specifically the homeless issue. This is not just the prettelling thing. You're speaking about somebody being at the library, vandalizing things, harassing people. I think that's where you have that separation that makes it a little bit easier to deal with versus just being like, you're existing and therefore that is the criminal act itself. So.
I've seen some places where they've made it, I don't know if it's illegal or if they've put, panhandling,
Mhm.
and that's kind of detracted, and again, we don't have this yet, and I'm hoping it doesn't come this way. But I just don't want it to blindside us.
Sure.
So
Understood.
that we're, because our downtown businesses, we don't get all the traffic they probably want anyway to begin with, so I would just hate for anything to deter that.
Understood. I definitely understand that.
Do we have a panhandling ordinance?
Specifically, not that I can think of. Dan can probably look at that.
It's like it might be time to maybe get one in place.
And I know we've had, I said, we don't have, I'd say, with the homelessness
Mhm.
experience here. We have Loves, so I know we've had an occasion, somebody being up there and asking for things like
Yeah.
that, so. We see it considerably more in Fort Morgan. I know we've been experiencing that, but it's not on a consistent, everyday basis
Yeah.
like other places do, so. And I'd have to specify, I can't remember specifically, but I believe the experiencing homelessness has actually gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has ultimately deemed encampments and stuff can be broken down and things can be done. It's not just, as Dan said, so which curtailed what happened with California and why California moved forward the direction that they did, as the Supreme Court said, local jurisdictions can do something about it rather than just letting it flourish and carrying on.
And you'll stay in contact with Fort Morgan and the sheriff and?
Yeah. Correct.
I'm sure they'll figure something out as well. Gotcha.
I don't see a specific panhandling statute. I do know that there's some case law that says it's somewhat protected as freedom of speech, but once you interfere with the flow of traffic, for instance, is usually when they're on the median, that's not permitted behavior. So very nuanced, but we can look into it.
Harassment tends to be the most applicable thing, because obviously if you're just trying to walk into Love's and somebody's, bugging you for money when you go in, bugging you for another, well, got called about that and initiated contact that you don't want.
The Girl Scouts.
Yeah, go.
Big harassers.
Try being a fat guy, bud, they come after us.
Gotcha. Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, I don't have anything either. If nobody has anything else, I'd look for a motion to adjourn so we can move into our work session.
Move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
In just a second.
Okay.
Snuck up on that.
That was live too. I tried, I really did.
You caught me more off guard than the weather comments.
So I can see cars outside.
Okay.
So I can see how hard that water was hitting